We do have an open ecosystem. We love having competitors in our ecosystem. It's really the innovation between the partners in those sectors that push each other, they drive each other. It's important in an ecosystem to have solutions that fit a lot of different PMs and their use cases. Our approach is that you can kind of build it how you want to build it. If I was to describe our partner ecosystem in one word, it'd be sustainable.
Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz. I'm your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. I'm Lynell Gordon, your host, and today we have Mike Norde. And Mike is the Director of Third-Party Partnerships at Inhabit, where he also leads in the Vacation Brands division. He has a background in multiple leadership roles at Streamline, and he has deep expertise in the vacation rental industry, managing technology and software solutions. Now at Inhabit right now, Mike is working on fostering innovative partnerships with solutions that empower property managers. He's also working with investors and the community, ensuring that everybody has the tools and the flexibility they need to succeed in the residential and the vacation rental markets. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So I know Mike more as he's been a friend for a long time. He's very smart, guys. He's one of the smartest guys in the industry. We want to talk about partnerships today. Specifically, tell me about partnering with Streamline. What kind of ecosystem do we have at Streamline for third-party vendors? Do we play well with others?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have an open ecosystem. We love having competitors in our ecosystem. It's really the innovation between the partners in those sectors that push each other, they drive each other. And, it's important in an ecosystem to have solutions that fit a lot of different PMs and their use cases. So there are PMs that rely primarily on the core tech of Streamline. And then there's other PMs that require additional partners to fulfill their tech stack. And so we really like our approach is that you can kind of build it how you want to build it. And included in that is the playing nice with others, as you said. So if I was to describe our partner ecosystem in one word, it'd be sustainable. We don't overextend ourselves. We don't partner with anybody and everybody. We're very thoughtful in our approach to adding partners, but we make sure that we're going where the market tells us to go.
It's really interesting. I just had the opportunity to interview a bunch of vendors at the Streamline Summit that you guys had. And I mean, they're like gaga over working with you guys. They really love it. Can you share an example of like a partnership strategy that significantly benefited not just Inhabit, but also the property manager clients?
There's so many use cases. I think probably the coolest part of my job is, I go back to some pretty early days in Streamline. I went to the second summit and I saw some of these partners like Price Labs, Lynx. They just had a couple of employees that were showing up to the conference. And then over time, you see them build these huge businesses that are servicing tens and even hundreds of thousands of units. And so to be a part of their growth story is what gets me waking up every day. So being able to connect with them over the years and talk to them about their journey, it's really what makes me feel good about my job.
I had someone tell me a couple of weeks ago, they were a vendor, that they literally built their business on working with Streamline. And I know more than one that has built their business working with Inhabit. You think about all the new entrepreneurs that came in. Tell me, what's the biggest challenge that the third-party vendors have in integration with Inhabit?
I think the challenges they face are the same challenges Streamline faces. There tends to be shiny objects that appear, a lot of great young talent, great ideas, great innovations, but they might be missing something that doesn't make them a good business case, or they may be struggling in growth areas or struggling in getting adoption. And I think overall, Streamline has to kind of wait and see and let the market, we're usually not the early adopter of a partner. We kind of have to They have to get their chops with maybe some of the property management systems that satisfy smaller PMs. So once we kind of get that proof of concept, then we're kind of interested in bringing them into our ecosystem and seeing what they can do. Now, granted, I don't have a crystal ball, so it's not like my track record is 100%. But I think we have a very good approach to how we view partnerships. And like I said, sustainability is what our goal is, making sure that we're adding partners that are going to be able to stay in our ecosystem for a long time.
How do you weed out? And I'm going to use this word because we used it. I've used it for many years in the industry. How do you weed out what we call snake oil salesmen? And that comes from, way back in the 30s when people would sell tonics that weren't, they were just not medicinal, that they claim to be. So how do you weed those people out who actually don't perform and do what they say they're going to do?
It's not a perfect science. However, I rely on my old background in video production, where we used to have people coming in with the next great idea. And if they just could do a video, they could make it take off. And, oh, we're not going to pay you, though. We want you to invest in our business. And so over the years, I have all these red flags that I see, and they become consistent. And a lot of times it's the way the person's talking about their solution. They tend to exaggerate about its capabilities and what it may grow to be. They use blue sky terms. But like I said, it's not perfect science, but not to be crude, but I'm a human BS detector. So I think I can weed them out on my own many times.
I love that, because you think about this now. When I first came to Streamline, I was a third-party vendor. And I can tell you that the integration with Streamline was extraordinary. We used an enormous amount of data. We brought some data tools to Inhabit when we were acquired as a company. And those tools that we used required an enormous amount of data. And I just remember how kind and how open your team was to allowing us to access data that the client wanted. It wasn't data that we wanted for our product. It was data that the property manager wanted because they needed all that in one place. How open is your API today?
It really is a case-by-case basis. And, we have a team of great people that make me look good. But if someone wants to access their own API, there's almost no cases where we would block that. So if they want to bring in a partner and get access to that API, we enable it. Where we have to kind of shift it to a commercial partnership is when they want to connect to multiple property managers. I would love to connect to anything and everything and give everybody the choice and the dream of what they want to connect to, but that's not sustainable. And I see that happening with some of our competitors, where they kind of open their ecosystem up to the point where their partners stop getting value. They're spreading themselves too thin. It becomes impossible to support. And the last thing I want to do is put strain on our support team. I want them to be happy with their job and feel like they're doing something that they can come into the office and get things done without overstretching what they can handle.
And I know that your infrastructure, it's really important that you keep things very fast and, almost immediate when it comes to displaying data. And I think that when you overextend an API, I saw that early on in some of the other PMSs that we were dealing with. It was very difficult to get data because their infrastructure was not built to the place that it needed to be. So what advice would you give to property managers who are looking to leverage their partnerships to scale their operations effectively? Do we suggest third-party vendors? Do we have a list of them somewhere online?
Yes, we have a marketplace, and we fill up with different options in different sectors, and we have a team of people that will advise our PMs based on how they run their business on what the best options for them are. And then, we just had the Streamline Summit, and the property managers love sharing their use cases with each other. Hey, have you tried this one? Have you considered this one? And quite frankly, you're not always going to get it right on your first choice. Revenue management in particular, you see people go through a few solutions before they land on the one they're most comfortable with. And we're lucky to have 4 great partners in that space, including our own RevMax. And, it's not going to be the best fit for everyone, but that's why we love having these options, because everybody likes to run their business a little bit differently.
I love the fact that we open up our system to new vendors. We had a new vendor, and I'm trying to remember, Malad. You know who Malad is, right?
I do.
Okay. One of the things that he said when I talked to him about this is that, like, good partnerships with property management systems can make or break a product. You know that. If you can't get your system to integrate so you don't have double entry with data and everything, it can be really difficult to become a vendor in this space. And I love the fact that Streamline and Inhabit as a whole are open to those integrations. It really gives those new entrepreneurs access to sell their product in a market that is inundated with lots of products. Tell me, what do you think the future looks like for that, for us integrating, new things, and especially with AI, people that are using AI? What does that look like for us at Inhabit?
We're never going to stop learning. If we think we have it solved, or we've hit every use case of how property managers want to use our tech, then that's when we fail. So always having open eyes, always keeping firmas next week, going and meeting all these new partners and what they do, making sure that not just me, but our team is educated on what's out there, what AI is doing. AI, quite frankly, a few years ago, it was just a buzzword. And so it was really cool to see at Summit. We've added some new partners, and now the practical use cases are starting to kick in, and people are using them to upsell, generate revenue, and so many other ways that our partners satisfy, as well as our own internal product, leveraging it in smart ways. So that's an example of, you see something kind of hit the market, you have to learn about it. You have to figure it out. You have to let them figure it out. You can't just dive in head first, but you have to be on the front edge of when it's ready to scale. And that's where I'm proud of where we're at in our ecosystem is at.
Built by property managers for property managers, Streamline is a powerful software that gives managers enterprise-level capabilities to drive more revenue and improve operational efficiency. Migrating to Streamline allows property managers to gain functionality while reducing the need for multiple vendors. Improve your flow by logging into a single system and reduce redundant technology costs. With Streamline, property managers achieve revenue lifts by leveraging our fully fledged communication center reservations, quoting system, revenue management tools, homeowner acquisition CRM, and powerful direct OTA connections. Streamline also has industry-leading trust accounting and report capabilities to give you clarity in an overall company performance. Learn more about Streamline Vacation Rental Software at streamlinevrs.com. That's awesome. I want to move it a little bit over so that one of the things that you are an expert in, because you've had so much leadership time, you've led so many different teams, you're an incredible leader. You're a servant leader, which I love. Can you talk a little bit about your team culture for me, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, happy employees, that translates to happy property managers, happy customers, and that ultimately translates to happier guests. So, that's something that top down we take seriously. And I think ever since I began at Streamline, there's a culture of I have your back. There's when someone is down, someone else is picking him up. When, many cases with a lot of sauce, you get thrown into the deep end, and that's okay. We learn by swimming. It's not for everyone, but for everyone that stays in the industry, you have to be ready to swim. But then as you start to learn different things, there's just always a team member that's willing to help out. And so that collaborative culture is what carries to this day, and what Inhabits also help foster. So that to me is paramount, and it's what keeps many of the leadership people that we've had around for a long time, and is what makes us the most powerful ecosystem in the industry.
What kind of support are there for property managers and third-party vendors? Here's one of the things that I was so impressed with when I worked with Streamline to start with. Number one, everybody's nice. I'm just telling you that. And that's what
everybody says that I talk to, especially at Summit, I got that same comment. Everybody is so easy to work with. They're so nice. The thing that really surprised me is that when you work with a vendor and you work with when you have two vendors that are working together, Streamline and a third-party vendor, when it comes to pleasing the customer, the thing that impressed me most about working with Streamline is that your people didn't go back and blame my team. And we tried very hard. Of course, we were dependent on third-party vendors, third-party relationships in order to make our product work in the marketplace. So we never, that was a rule. You never blame the other. But we had other vendors that would do that would send back to and we actually lost one client because of that. How do you keep that from happening? The collaborativeness that you guys have, the team is just so remarkable. Tell me, what kind of training do you do that makes people not blame the third party?
I think it's just organic. It's just a collective feeling like, we're here to solve problems. We're not here to blame people. We just have to get it right. We don't want to lose PMs because we're blaming a partner. And it's essential that not, the partners as well, the PMs, we have to treat like guests, making sure that this is the hospitality industry. So making sure top down, we're treating them like guests. And part of that is when something goes wrong, making sure we're taking ownership of it. It doesn't mean we roll over. It doesn't mean that, in cases where, they might have been more at fault, we don't call it out, but we still take ownership of the problem and solve it together. And in other cases, obviously, it might be on our end. So making sure either way, we're putting the property manager and their experience with both softwares first is the only way we all win together.
What is the most rewarding part about your job?
I don't even know where to start. I mean, I'm going to get choked up.
We work with nice people. We do.
No, I fell in love with the industry when even before I started my job at Streamline. I was freelance videographer and went to the Summit, went to VRMA, and just the way people treated me, I'm like, this is home. Like, it's hard to explain. When the end product is knowing guests are having the ultimate vacation, you're kind of in a fantasy world. And we get removed from that in sauce a little bit, but the truth is we're all working towards that common goal, and what a goal that is. And so that is what drives me. And I feel like everybody that works in this industry has that passion and that feeling like they really enjoy what they do because they know it makes a difference. And that's unique.
That is unique to hospitality. It truly is. And it's one of the reasons I think that when you get into this industry, you don't want to move to a different industry because it's not always that way in business. I came from Fortune 500 background, and that is not the way we work. So I loved the fact that the attitudes and just the general kindness in our industry. Tell me your favorite story of working with a PM.
I had just started at Streamline, and my phone broke right before VRMA, and it was the Stringtown year. And I needed it, but there was no way it wasn't going to arrive before we left for the show. And Carlos Corzo, who was the CEO of Streamline, called up Steve Schwab and he said, "Hey, can you pick up Mike's phone?" And I barely knew Steve. And I'm like, what industry is a CEO of a huge franchisee going to go run this errand for the marketing guy? And I was basically entry level at that point. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, that kind of represents who we are as an industry, is that the servant leaders rise to the top and really accomplish the most. So that's something that pops into my head. But, countless other just kind words from partners over the years. Nars from Rubaroo comes to mind, and just the relationship and friendship I've been able to build with him over time, and many of the other partners is what, like I said, it makes me excited to see them every time we have a show.
100%. And you just mentioned a couple of my favorite people in the industry. If you're thinking about working with Streamline as a third-party vendor, some of our best friends are those in the industry. My sister's a property manager, and at Streamline Summit, this is just going to give you an example of how it goes with us. My group from my sister's company came upstairs. We were working. There's a lot of work for us to do. We're there, just saying. And I was working upstairs, and the group came upstairs and they were like, "Lynell, we just had a friend of yours buy us. They were all buying us espresso martinis down in the bar to say hi and how much they miss you being there. And I mean, I think about, and that wasn't ours. He's just so sweet. There are so many kind people in our industry. If you're thinking about, guys, getting into the industry as a vendor, there's no better industry to be in, to work with. And there's no better partner than Streamline, in my opinion. I love working with Streamline. The people that we work with there, the culture of that company is just one of my favorites in the industry. It truly is. So, Mike, I really appreciate all that you do to help our partners be successful. Looking ahead, what strategic priorities do you see as the most critical for Inhabit and its partners to drive growth and innovation?
I think we've really gotten on that track in the past year. I think keep maintaining that open ecosystem, using those competitors to push innovation, using even our PMS competitors to push innovation. We have to stay ahead of the game. We're kind of at the top of the mountain, and people are trying to get our market share. And I truly believe we are the premier collective of companies in North America and beyond, and love working for Inhabit. So continuing to drive that innovation, continuing to listen to what our PMs say and help us direct our product. And like I said, treating PMs and partners like guests are going to separate us out because those relationships are what matter. And when something becomes transactional, particularly in hospitality, then it dies.
What do you see happening? I know you said you didn't have a crystal ball, but you work with a lot of vendors. You know a lot of what's happening technology-wise in the industry. Tell me what you think is, what do you see in your crystal ball over the next 3 years? I would say 5, but really it's growing so fast. What do you see happening in the next couple of years or so?
It's funny because if you would ask me this 3 years ago, I would have said it. What I'm about to say would have already happened, but it hasn't. I expected the partnerships and the integrations to become more consolidated. And especially in the guest space, it's actually become more fragmented. And so I do predict in the next 3 years some consolidation, but some very beneficial consolidation for PMs, because right now there's a lot of tech offerings that have overlaps that end up costing the PM more. And so as those options start to synergize and consolidate, I think the cost of it will go down, and the efficiency that these tools offer is going to go up. So my prediction is that partnerships, integrations are going to become a lot less of a headache for PMs in 3 to 5 years.
I hope so. May it be. That's the truth. Is there anything else you want to tell property managers or vendors?
I mean, just always remind yourself that we're in a fun industry with guests having the time of their life. And I know that's the thought that no matter how frustrated I get, it always carries me to the next day. It's one of those weird things where even when I'm aggravated, it's like I'm enjoying the challenge of it. And so it's weird to have a job where even in your down times, you're like, well, this is fun. It's a puzzle. It's something to navigate. And so I feel, even though I'm saying this advice, I feel like the people that have survived and thrive in this industry know that already. But if you're looking to get into it, just embrace the challenge and surf the chaos.
So if a property manager wants to reach out to you because they want their solution to be integrated with Streamline, or if there's a vendor out there and they're like, I think we want to integrate with Streamline, how would they reach out to you?
We do have a partner application that we direct them to, but I'm open to people reaching out to me directly to start that conversation. Very rarely will I not at least set up a discovery call to see what they do. I don't want to miss. I have FOMO when it comes to missing the next big thing. So I'm always willing to talk to someone. And I'm going to be honest, if you're not ready for our ecosystem, I'm not going to rush you. I'm not going to sell it to you to get you in there. And I'll give you advice on what you need to do. There's lots of steps to becoming a partner with Streamline. All these steps are to protect not only Inhabit, but our property managers. But I promise you, we're always going to have your best interest as a partner in how we evaluate.
I love that. And I love the fact that property managers can dream big as to what they'd like to have. And it doesn't matter that how unusual you do business. A lot of times, actually, a lot of times we don't even know what we have in our property management system. I do want to mention that as we're talking about this, because even though a lot of what our vendors do are duplicated in maybe a solution that the property manager already has, they may just want to do it a different way. And I've seen that with property managers. So if you're a vendor and you're interested in being a part of the ecosystem at Inhabit, reach out to Mike. And if you're a property manager that has an amazing idea and you're like, I wonder if anybody in the industry does this, reach out to Mike, and I'm sure he'll be able to talk you through that, because that's his juju, guys. He knows what everybody in the business is doing and how it integrates with the Inhabit products. Thank you, Mike, so much for being a part. And thank you just for being one of the nicest people in the industry.
Thank you.
We appreciate that about you.
My niceness comes from being married to my wife, Jackie, giving her a shout out.
Okay, there is a shout out there. We do love Jackie. It's the truth. Thank you for bringing her everywhere you go, because she is so much fun to be with.
We never run out of things to talk to, that's for sure. We're both part of the industry, and when we take long walks, we're talking about the industry the whole time.
You guys are a real testament to having a really great relationship. You really are, both of you. And you both say the same thing about each other independently. So there you go. All right. Well, thanks again. And look, if something else comes up cool that you want to talk about, come back and tell people about it.
Will do. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Cheers.
This episode of the Vacation Rental Show is brought to you by Streamline. To find out more about how Streamline can grow your vacation rental business, visit streamlinevrs.com. Make sure to search for the Vacation Rental Show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.